Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to talk about a topic that came up relating to another video. Now, just recently I did a video talking about if you could pick one doctor from Doctor Who that you wish had done another season, which doctor would it be and why? And in the comments, I found this one interesting because I think a lot of people were having trouble picking just one, so most people in the comments were picking more than one. There were a lot of honorable mentions in there, and I don't blame them. It's a tough question. I love videos like that where you guys actually have to kind of sit there and really think about your answers. But Eccleston came up a lot. A lot of people would love to have seen Eccleston do another season, which I think is an interesting idea. And as I was reading the comments, I started thinking this would make a really good video. My nose is itching. Because Eccleston's interesting, because Eccleston is a good doctor, and he was the doctor in one of the best seasons of Doctor Who, new or old. Series 1 is really good, so I can understand why people would have liked to have seen another season with Chris, because he's a really good doctor. I love his ability to switch between comedy and complete seriousness like that. I mean, he alternates between them so well, between having to deal with all the post-traumatic stress he's having to deal with, or deal with the seriousness of the moment. But he's also really funny and silly, and he's got that huge Tom Baker grin. I absolutely love how well he balanced both of those. Rose is such a good first story. I really enjoy it. But the interesting thing is we have to look at that, because I think technically that could be a double-edged sword if he had done a second season. Let's say he did Series 2, because Series 2, I think most people would agree Series 2 is the weakest of the Russell T Davies era. And there's some really good stories in it. There's really good stories in Series 2, but there's really bad stories in Season 2. There's not a lot of middle ground in Series 2. The stories tend to be really good, really bad, for the most part. And it's interesting how these would have played out with Eccleston in the role. So let's go under the assumption they would have been, if not the exact same, similar episodes. The episodes would have been pretty much the same for the most part. I'm curious how School Reunion would have went. How would Sarah Jane have interacted with this darker Ninth Doctor? Although then again, maybe in Series 2, Eccleston's Doctor would have softened up a little bit, been not quite as post-traumatic stress as he is in Series 1. Maybe he would have become a little more softer like Tennant, although Tennant's pretty hard in parts of Series 2 as well. How would the dynamic have been? How would Sarah Jane have looked at this darker Ninth Doctor and really seen the man she knew? Because she was more familiar with the Third and Fourth Doctors, even though she'd met other incarnations as well. How would she have recognized him? How would they have gotten on? So I'm curious how different School Reunion would have played out. Would there still have been the romantic subplot with Rose? Is that something that's more between Rose and Ten, or would they have explored that? Especially to the degree Series 2 does with the Doctor and Rose. Would we still have had that? Which would have made, would we still have had the same ending with the Doctor and Rose at the end of Doomsday? Because I know a lot of people get kind of frustrated with Rose in Series 2. So what would the dynamic between the Ninth Doctor and Rose have been in Series 2? Because that's going to make a big difference on whether the series holds up as well or not, because a lot of people have an issue with the 10th Doctor and Rose. What would people think of the 9th Doctor in stories like Fear Her, Love and Monsters, The New Earth? The main thing is Eccleston's legacy is partially good, not just because he is a good doctor and he plays the role well, but because his season is so strong. What happens suddenly if the second season, Series 2, becomes part of his legacy? Does that tarnish his legacy a bit? Like with Eccleston, like with Tennant. Of Tennant's 3.5 seasons, Series 2 is considered the weakest. Now, Tennant's still considered a great doctor, but when people want to point out that Tennant might not be, the best era ever, they point to Series 2, because Series 3 and 4 are really solid, and I enjoy the specials as well, with the exception of Waterers of Mars, which I only think is decent. So that's usually what people point to if they're, not Tennant fans. They point to Series 2. So would that have hurt the Ninth Doctor to have actually been in Series 2 and have his era dragged down a little by those weaker episodes from Series 2? So there's that. But then there's one other point. There's one other reason why I think it might have been a good thing that Christopher Eccleston only stayed a season. This is nothing against Chris. Again, I like Chris. The Ninth Doctor is a really good Doctor. But I think the biggest advantage to come out of it is for newer fans who are just jumping on board the series for the first time with Series 1, with the modern series in 2005, is with him regenerating at the end of it, it gets these new fans used to the idea of regeneration. It introduces them to the concept of regeneration early. It gets them used to the fact that not only can companions leave, come and go, but the main character himself can change and rejuvenate and regenerate, and that a new actor can come in to play him. And it gets them used to the fact that no one actor owns this role. Each actor is really just a caretaker of the role for a time, kind of putting their own little stamp on it, and before they pass the torch to the next actor, like passing the torch to like the Olympic torch or passing a baton. And so it gets fans used to this, so they're not 2 or 3 years in when they've really connected with this actor and this character, and that this actor is just solidified in this role for them. Instead, they only get 3 or 4 months, however long Series 1 ran, and then immediately he changes into another person. And I'm sure for a lot of new Who fans who are just starting with this series, especially if they were children at the time, I'm sure that was a mind-boggling moment. I'm sure they were what the heck just happened? Who's this twit with the weird hair? I'm sure there was a lot of them trying to figure out what was going on. This gets them right. It's good because they don't have as much time to super bond with the Ninth Doctor. You're just kind of getting used to him in the role when he regenerates into Tennant. I always maintain that the first Doctor people really had a chance to grow and bond with was Tennant, because Tennant did it for several years. So that's the first one I think people really had a chance for them to really solidify it as their Doctor, because they had a chance to grow with him over several years. It's why the 10th Doctor's regeneration is considered, even in the story, it's kind of an epic moment. It kind of deserves it because it's the first Doctor that some people had actually grown up with, that particular generation had a chance to really grow up with. And while the 10th Doctor's regeneration was extremely upsetting for a lot of people, even me, I really liked the 10th Doctor. I was sad to see him go too. They were at least, if they had seen Series 1 and started from the beginning, they at least knew in the back of their mind it was going to happen. Plus the fact Tennant had announced it ahead of time. So I actually think that's the main good thing to come out of Eccleston only doing 1 season is it got these new fans, because there's so many Doctor Who fans out there now, like a lot of them on YouTube, even the ones that watch all of Doctor Who started with the modern series, with Series 1. It got them used to the idea of this actor is only going to be in this role for a certain amount of time, and then someone else can come over and take over this role, and the concept of how that can happen is written into the show itself. So you didn't have fans getting frustrated and upset. Well, I'm sure some fans still get upset and frustrated when Doctors change, but you at least know in the back of your mind it's going to happen at some point, and I think that did help the show endure. I think that's one of the reasons why the Russell T Davies era and into Matt Smith's era was still so strong, is because that concept was introduced. Because it never really mentions it in Series 1 before that. We get little hints that us classic Who fans catch up on, like in Rose when he's looking at the mirror going, not bad. And in the World War III part when he's like, he mentions having friends in units and they wouldn't change me. I've changed, they wouldn't recognize me. I've changed a lot since the old days. It makes these little references to him to regeneration, but not enough to where anyone who doesn't know about it is going to understand it or pick up on it. I mean, it really doesn't, there's no part where he just says, oh, hey, I can change my face. That's really the first time he can do that if you haven't seen the classic show, is when he regenerates. So, I think that is the plus side to it. So I get why people would have liked to have had another season with Eccleston. I would have been on board for that as well. But I do think there are advantages to only having had 1 season. 1, we don't have the weaker Series 2 pulling his legacy down. And 2, it got fans used to the concept of regeneration early. So when if it had happened 3 seasons in, you probably would have had some very unhappy people. So that's my thoughts on the matter. I would like to know what you think about it and what you think of my video. You think that's a pretty decent argument I made, or if you think it's complete nonsense. I'm always interested to hear what you think, so comment down below and let me know what you think. Other things to do: click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications. We have just passed over 400 subscribers. I'm very excited. Thank all of you for that. That means a lot. I've also started a Patreon page. If you would like to become one of my patrons on that, there is a link to that down below. I am doing a thing right now where through at least the 10th of June of 2021, anyone who joins my Patreon has access to stuff that's at any tier level has access to stuff that's usually just reserved for higher tier levels. My entry tier is only $2 a month. I have a slightly higher one at $5 a month. But at any tier level, right now I'm allowing people access for polls to vote in, blooper videos to watch, outtakes, alternate videos, behind the scenes stuff. And I have 2 polls going right now. Actually, they will be running through June the 10th. If you would like to have a look at those and vote in those. One of those is which companion I will be doing a review on from the 4th Doctor. I think Leela's winning it right now, last time I looked. So take a second, click on that, see if there's anything there that interests you. Most importantly, though, stay safe out there, and thank you for watching.